Welcome back to the Midday Reset. My name is Antoinette, and thanks for taking a break with me today. Everyday life can get stressful as we move through responsibilities and commitments, and it's nice to take a break or two. This Midday Reset is meant to serve as a mini mental vacation for your brain as you deal with it all. Let's start by clearing our space with a nice deep breath in and out. Again, in and out. Once more, in and out. Today, I want to talk to you about ego. It's that three-letter word that usually leaves a bad taste in the mouth. In general, we typically identify the ego as part of being macho or tough. This connection serves to make the ego more masculine, but ego is certainly not something limited to males or people who are particularly strong or tough. Ego is often aligned with arrogance, but we will discuss this later on because we might need to rethink this pairing as well. I didn't actually start learning about ego until recently, though my ego has been a part of me since I first formed some semblance of an identity. Ego is tricky because it's what I would call a passive trait. And none of this comes from any sort of textbook. I just have certain terms that I use to categorize things so that they make sense to me. So when I say that ego is a passive trait, what I mean to say is that ego is not something that gets outwardly displayed in the same way happiness, sadness, or worry do. We can't look at someone and see their raging ego. Some of their actions might suggest that they have a large ego, and in those scenarios, being observant can help us identify when a person's ego comes out. But overall, ego likes to mask itself in other emotions, thoughts, or actions, making it difficult to catch on to, especially in our own self-reflection. I used to think that ego was simply the belief that you are better than someone else. This is certainly a piece of the puzzle, but ego encompasses much, much more. Ego often will manifest itself in a person's constant need for attention, in their inability to admit shortcomings, their inability to share the attention or the spotlight, if you will. It is an inability to empathize with others. It is a constant need to be right. It is ego that tells us that we are way behind in the race and everyone else is passing us up, and we will be left behind and should therefore feel anxious. The truth is that there is no race. Everyone is on their own separate journeys, and the place that you are at is exactly where you should be. No need to push for something else, as the something else will likely come with time if you continue building toward it. Ego is what keeps us from asking for help when we need it. Ego tells us to put on a brave front when we have it all together in an effort to mask that we indeed don't have it all together and could probably even use some help in some areas. But ego won't let us look weak, and not having it all together is surely weak, right? The truth is, everyone has faults and needs help in 2 or 3 areas, maybe more. The true show of strength is to be honest about those shortcomings and through honesty, find solutions to help you get past them. It's weak to pretend or to lie to yourself about having it all together. Don't expect yourself to have it all together. To act as though you have it all together or that you have it all figured out or that you don't need help is arrogant, and this is fueled by ego. Ego also pushes us away from solutions and people rather than bringing us closer to solutions that can help and people who love us. Think about all those times your mother or father or another adult figure in your life tried to stop you, pull you to the side, and tell you the better way, and all the times you didn't want to listen, didn't care for their input, didn't want to use the advice. Now, think about all those times that you did that, but they were right. Perhaps you even went back and told them you were right. That was your ego stopping you. But it does not have to stop you quite so much if you don't want it to. First, I recommend doing some personal work to get straight why you have certain emotions or take certain actions around situations. If you are jealous of your friend or something she has, is that issue really with your friend, or is it something else? Is it really her that you dislike, or is it something else? Is it that you somehow fear you cannot have the same thing for yourself? A journal is very handy for this kind of work, but it's not the only method. Talking it out with a therapist or just spending some time in stillness with your emotions can help. Next, I recommend that you acquaint yourself with your shortcomings and acknowledge them. This isn't to coddle or encourage them, but simply to acknowledge it the same way that you'd acknowledge your hair color or your height. For example, I'm terrible at remembering things. I don't do very well keeping up with dates and appointments and such. So I have lots of tools that I use to keep track of those things for me, such as a planner, the calendar feature in my phone, stationery for notes, checklists for grocery items, and so on. These help me to overcome my tendency to forget. You'll find your methods too, but acknowledge what you are not good at. And feel free to also acknowledge what you are good at. Just be honest. Lastly, try to put a pause between your brain's processing of events or phenomena and your reaction, response, or feelings about it. If your tendency is to react to the people around you with jealousy at their gains or accomplishments, perhaps you can set this up by asking yourself if these are people you truly have a problem with or if the problem is elsewhere. Chances are you love your friends and family, but maybe you are having a difficult time feeling good about yourself because you feel that somehow you don't measure up. If they're your real friends, chances are they love you for you, not for your stuff, not for what's on your resume. And if you do feel that you could do better, then do better. Set some goals for yourself and work toward them. Those friends and family will probably cheer you on as you do. Good luck to you as you do this work. Ego is tricky, but every single one of us has one and have had to wrestle with one at one point or another. Be gentle with yourself as you reflect. Thank you so much for taking a break with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to share and subscribe. If you'd like to support the Midday Reset podcast, please become a patron at Patreon at patreon.com/MDR. That's patreon.com/MDR. Take care, my friends, and I'll see you next time.